Brahman, God, is that transcendent reality, that one soul that we're all working our way back to, each individual Atman. Now, the Atman is an individualized piece, section of Brahman, the ultimate reality, the oneness that every single Atman, every single soul is a part of, every single, you could say, isolated section. But the Atman is the Brahman being immanent, being in everything, being at the heart of every atom. The heart of an atom is the Atman. And it is just like air, capturing a section of air from the room, the world, placing a little case around it, allowing it to be immanent and in everything, yet seemingly separate. One good way to check if a book or a spiritual path is for you is that it should make you kind of feel like what I'm about to explain. Imagine that you had something happened to where you did not remember who you were exactly or what path you were following. But you're certain that the journal that you found, the blueprint for who you are and your path and what happened and what has happened and what was written by you. And that is a work that you produced. You don't remember doing it, but you know that this journal that you have in your hands has been produced by you and is true. And you know it's truth by how it makes you feel on the inside, how your insights, your individual Atman, your individual soul whispers to you of its truth. Deep down, when we read something, when we analyze something, we know if it's the right way for us. What confuses us is emotions about its relation to society or how society wants us to feel, or moral judgments about that our society has given us about if it's right or wrong. That's what gets in the way. But if we can quiet all that, when we read something, when we explore something, when we walk down a path, we inherently know within us if it's accurate, if it's true based on our experience, if we take out societal fear. Now, if a book or a path, if it feels like it is an expression of yourself, you feel that it is written by you, it is guiding you, then that is a path or a book worth following, worth giving a try, worth at least spending some time on to see if that feeling continues, if that feeling continues to be true to your soul. Similar to a teacher. Now, since the Atman is an individualized reality that is Brahman, that we're all working our way back to, that means that Brahman itself is transcendent. So the Atman is kind of a gateway, a portal to that transcendence. But the portal isn't above. It doesn't lead above. It leads within, since Brahman is immanent through Atman. So if everything leads in, if to transcend is to go within yourself, then a teacher who could teach you about yourself would be very valuable. Now, how can we tell if a teacher, a guru, a master, is teaching us about ourselves? Well, don't allow teachers or preachers to tell you anything about some kind of external God. If somebody's yelling at you about an external God and telling you what you should do in relation to that, rather than something that is useful to your own experience of reality and helps you develop as an individual in relation to yourself, if they're saying something other than that, then you can throw it out and move on. But a teacher should inform you about some things that are true to your reality, things that make sense when you hold yourself in relation to yourself, and things that would help you in day-to-day life. And the deeper truths should always be tied to them giving you revelations about their personal experiences, but also revelations about your personal experiences. Not by listening to your story and telling you what it meant, but in revelations about the nature of the mind, the nature of ego and how it goes from thing to thing, the nature of craving and aversion. And you can check this out in your own experience of reality and relate it to how you understand reality and relate it to your experiences. So this is useful in the here and now, useful to you, and useful in your own experience of reality. The nature of the body itself. And they should be able to tell you techniques, pranayama, breathing techniques, meditation techniques, even ways to pray that lead to greater realization for yourself and greater experience of reality. It should enhance your experience of reality and enhance your understanding of reality. That is the value that a teacher, a guru, should provide. Not a teacher who only tells you about something that's external to yourself and that you must have faith in. A teacher, a guru who asks for too much faith, or even a lot of faith, and does not give you something that is true to your reality or reveals things that are true to your reality and your experience of it, they're not true teachers. They are trying to get you to follow a path where you place all the faith in something external and do none of the work yourself, and you don't unveil things yourself, because the spiritual path is a system of unveiling deeper and deeper truths and a brighter and brighter nature. Whereas the other teachers there might be a darkening, there might be a confusion, your mind might be not clear on certain aspects. A good teacher will dispel illusions and delusions. That's what guru means, dispeller of darkness. Gu, darkness, ru, dispeller. So why go on this rant at all about Atman, Brahman, and teachers and books? I've been feeling recently that there's not enough really good teachers out there, really good gurus, and really people that have unconditional wisdom that they provide. Now, there are some. I've met one or two, but I listen to and read works from others that I find to be really illuminating on a number of different aspects of being human and being on spiritual paths. But the world in general, it can be pretty isolating for spiritual people. And while we're in Dwapara Yuga, an ascending age, we are still kind of at the first cusp of ascension there. We're about, I think the early 1900s was when we really started to get an ascension. But at the same time, there's a whole lot that we're having to work through in that ascension. It doesn't immediately start getting better, but they'll slowly get better as minds open up. It just so happens that some are ahead of the curve. I think the percentage of the population that's spiritual is still pretty low. I think that, at best, probably about 5% and maybe 10%. If you can add another 5 on there for people who are generally, curious and open-minded and are kind of interested. But it can be a very isolating experience to be on a spiritual path and to look for teachers, look for gurus, and look for spiritual works that aid us internally. And they should be true to our reality, and they should help us with our reality. They shouldn't just be a promise about something external to ourselves. And we've seen a lot of that throughout hundreds of years with religion. And religion is the ritualization and the dogmatization, concretization of shamanic practices, from shamanic truths, realizations, and cultures. Religion kind of forms when all the practices and beliefs and the understandings and realizations of the shamans, when priests come along and try to make it into books, make it into rules, and make it into this is the way to do things, and that is not the way to do things. And then that's also where spiritual growth stops happening, because once you get that concretization and the dogmatization, then individual spiritual growth with anybody who is in contact with that ritualized those ritualized practices. Anybody who's in contact with that and now takes the authority of the priests, their spirituality is stifled, is hampered, and is hemmed in. This has happened a number of times. What I find extremely interesting is that you can see the echoes of shamanism in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, pyramids, statues, and texts, papyri. You can see the echoes of shamanism in the hawk-headed Horus and Set, who I believe has a jackal head, or no, I think that's Anubis actually has a jackal head. Set, I believe, has a hippopotamus head. Anyway, but you see the echoes in shamanistic understanding. You see the echoes of a world that was where people were in relation to their environment, in relation to nature, and in relation to various spirits on a very tangible, real world, skin to the earth kind of level. And that was preserved in animal heads on these gods. Now, going back to gods, I believe that all, I'm not going to say all, but I think that most gods exist. I think that the way that we relate to them is what differs. The way that we relate to them, why I like seeing gods with different animal heads is because that is an older relationship, having been solidified earlier on, not necessarily ritualized, not necessarily concretized or dogmatized, but having been made earlier on. When we started making our gods that looked more like us, I think that was a later development. Kali, she was worshipped, as a fruit on a pot. The blackness of the night sky, the blackness of a deep, dark cave, but the wisdom of it as well, and the wisdom that you learned by going into that cave and meditating. Aspects that maybe you can't draw like that dark cave, but that also that cave where you find internal illumination. I like seeing that the forming of that relationship early on, and then later on it gets kind of ritualized more and more until the gods become more and more like us, not only in how they look, but how they act. And that relationship continues and builds. And since we expect that from the gods, that's kind of how they start relating to us, through those human ways of doing things and through those human forms. But do I think most gods actually look like that? No, I don't think that most gods really look like us. I know the only one that I've seen as far as astrally and that I can look at is Ma Kali. And that vision of Devi Loka, it might have been Devi Loka, it could have been Hiranya Loka, the planet in her lap in the astral realm, the planet of light beings in a light jungle, and she's made of light. She has a vaguely human shape, but it's all white light with very slight red light in there too. But it's vaguely humanoid with this planet in her lap. But does she look like the goddess with all those heads around her neck and a scimitar and a trishula and fangs coming out and blood dripping down? No, she doesn't even have skin, and all the arms are basically rays of light that became arms over time. I think these are my guesses. But what she looks like is light and in a vaguely human shape, and that might have been for me. She might just be light. Kali might just be light. And we think of her as darkness because she's so unknown in her vastness. There's so much of her. She's so much light that our ability to conceive of her is shrouded in darkness because she's so vast. It's kind of a funny thing to realize is that she's depicted as a black goddess, sometimes blue, but that's more later on. But it's very black, and that's because of space. There's unknown things in space, but the unknown is also black to us, like the dark cave. But this universe is just a small little bubble in her womb, and it's black because its material is very isolated. It's not as open. It's not as open-ended. Our atoms are very solid and they can't move around as well as lifetrons in the astral realm. They can't move around. They don't have as much agency. They vibrate very low. You can think of this universe as a section of her womb that we have so much ability to choose in, but we're kind of gestating away from the astral, which, if you take all the material universes, is one third of all of what the astral is. And all the material universes, that's virtually infinite material universes. Virtually, because there is a number, but it just keeps expanding and multiplying. But the astral is bigger than that. It's hard to conceive of. But getting back to my point, coming the long way around, I like to relate to my gods, my spirits, the natural world, through very, I would say unique, but I say that in a non-egoic way, or I'm trying to, very unique to me way, where I follow inspiration that comes from my Atman, my section of the transcendent Brahman. Once again, the transcendence happens within. And I view that as very shamanic. It's not something that you can really transfer to people. That's why I show what I do in my videos, but the exact same things might not work the same for you. This is more of a showing what I'm doing, rather than necessarily trying to teach. I don't really view myself as a teacher or an enlightener. I do view myself as a shamanic practitioner and a devotee of the Divine Mother Kali, and to a lesser degree, a follower of Odin. But I don't view myself as some kind of guru, because I think that a lot of the time we have to find our own way of relating to spirits and gods and the world. And there's blueprints that we can follow, but we can never completely duplicate everything in the exact same way and get the same result. We're going to have to relate to everything and understand everything in our own way. And this is the shamanic process. This is the spiritual path. And, every true spiritual path. Enlightenment is not a blueprint where you can read this amount of words and then you get the realization. The realization never happens that way. It happens through folding of the knowledge, through thinking, through trying to understand. But there is no one thing you can read and just become enlightened. It involves the folding of knowledge and experience and the continuation of experience in relation to that knowledge and in relation to everything that kind of surrounds the spiritual, God, spirits, divine, the earth. But it all has to form and mold within us, within our hearts, within our minds. But when I say in our hearts, I mean it has to be connected to it. We have to actually care about it. And within our minds, we have to actually think about it. Because it takes both. It takes thinking and it takes the caring for enlightenment to happen and to progress along any spiritual path. I don't think that most people who are atheists or who are agnostic or don't like religion, I think that they see all of spirituality and all of religion as rules where, you believe this, you believe this, you believe this about God, you believe this about God. These are your rules, these are your rules. And I don't have to follow any of them because you have not proved to me that any of it is real, first of all, which is true. Even spiritual people like me who understand that the spiritual paths aren't all about rules. Can't absolutely prove God or gods or spirits or the deeper nature to things, spiritual nature to things. I can't prove that. But I think a lot of people who are atheists or agnostic or reject religion, they don't know that to be on a spiritual path is to actually have to figure out things for yourself and have your own rules in a way, and to figure out your own ways of relating to all these things. I don't think that they know of the beautiful, creative, and personal, individualized, and unique path that this is. And I think that a lot of religious people, on the other hand, are very shrouded in fear and ignorance and societal pressures. I honestly think that religious people are further away from spirituality than an atheist or an agnostic or somebody who just relates to the natural world and thinks that there might be something supernatural behind it, but not sure. I think that religious people are further away from the spiritual path than the other groups I just described. I think that an atheist is far closer to a spiritual path than somebody who is a hardline evangelical Christian. There's plenty of really spiritual Christian sects and groups out there. I'm not saying all Christians, but hardline evangelical, Trump-loving Christians. I also think that those people are further away from Jesus than an atheist, but I feel like there's more atheists who even care about animals more so than the kind of Christian I just described. Anyway, regardless, we are at an ascending age. In an ascending age, Dwapara Yuga. It's going to take time. It's going to be some time before we start seeing those numbers go up, and we probably won't see those numbers go too high within the amount that are spiritual or interested in spirituality, not religion, spirituality, and maybe the spiritual side of religion too, but not just religion as a social function. Basically, we're not going to see those numbers go up in our lifetimes drastically. The best we can do is find teachers and keep on trying to figure out things in our own way, in a shamanic way, you could say, and find resources, books that can help us, that can give us hints, can give us practices to try, and then we kind of figure it out in our own way and how to do it our own way. The value of a guru is so valuable, though. I found one recently, but I'm looking for one who is very much just in the spiritual path and not quite as much in the world, if that makes sense. Of course, to find the phenomenal, you can't stay within your current phenomenon. To find the phenomenal, you have to leave your current phenomenon. So that would require me going to the Himalayas or deep into the jungle or forests, which I think that I will do one day. So kind of tied down here right now. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you a rant and talk about it. I wish there were more teachers that were close. I wish they were inside of our phenomenon. I wish the phenomenal was here right in front of me so I didn't have to work for it. But, just kind of talk about my understanding about spirituality and the gods and religion and the individualized Atman, and it being Brahman, being the immanent form of Brahman in all things and all atoms, and Brahman being the transcendent God, yet transcendence is within, not above. At any rate, like this video, hit that thumbs up down there if you like this video at all. Feel free to leave a comment, that also helps out the channel, and feel free to share this wherever you like. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and hope all of you